Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, Hot Topics on this Friday morning. Wow. Sometimes things just floor you. I thought that after what happened to me last week, I think they're on, I don't even know if they're comparable, but I don't even know what to say. Because I have been saying that this president is racist for so long, and I think before anybody on television would say it, getting called a race baiter and people telling me I was too sensitive or that he said things that were racist adjacent or that he was bordering. He's just a plain out fucking racist. So let me say this just plainly, okay? Because I'm talking about this video. This video, and you just put the first image of it up, Andy. This video should terrify anyone who really takes the United States seriously. So yes, what you're looking at, there you go. It's not just a meme. It's not just Trump being Trump. It is a sitting American president posting an AI video depicting the former president and former First Lady Barack and Michelle Obama as monkeys. And this isn't funny. It's not comedy. This is not politics. It's racist, deranged filth, sewage, below the gutter. The oldest insult in the book, dressed up in AI-generated pixels, and then pipe straight through the most powerful office on earth, which is the president of the United States. And the most dangerous part is not even the racism, though. I mean, God knows that that's disgusting enough. The most dangerous part is that what it reveals about him, them, meaning the administration and the people who support him. The absolute collapse of seriousness, dignity, although I don't know where that has been for the last 10 years. It is the sort of casual demolition of dignity of the presidency for a cheap laugh from the worst people on the internet. Now, here is the thing. I don't think this is just for a cheap laugh. I think this is a distraction. So Lord knows what is coming out today or soon or what he is covering up from the Epstein files or whatever that would get him to do something.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Gregory Wright Show. I have been a little bit under the weather, but I'm not saying that my subscribers don't care, but just in the back of my mind, I just wanted to give an example of the reason why I haven't been on, just clearing my throat, still sounding sinusy, so to speak, so please bear with me. The thumbnail and the description and the title of this video, of this live stream, is self-explanatory. So we got President Trump, number 47, currently in the White House, dictating news media cycles. Whether it be in his favor or not be in his favor, President Trump dominates the media. And Donald Trump can fart, he can burp, he can fall down, he can curse, he could do something that ordinary Americans do all the time, but not get national and worldwide coverage the way Donald Trump is getting it now. So the fact that Don Lemon, who was arrested and indicted for disrupting peaceful assembly among Christians in a church and was embedded in a anti-ICE protest group that broke in the church, once in the church, blocked parishioners of the church who were praying before the break-in, not allowing the parishioners to leave with their children were crying and wailing and all this other kind of stuff. And Don Lemon seemed indifferent. Actually, a day or two later, he was on X bragging that he wouldn't do anything different. He was calling on the Trump administration to come get him, and that's what they did. And now, this sweet little tush is salty about that. So whatever, if Trump farts or Trump burps, best believe Don Lemon is going to be on the scene talking bad about Donald Trump. But let's continue with the video, right? This is part of my cold open.
Like this. Imagine if any other president had done that. It'd be emergency meetings, there would be resignations, there would be consequences. Because, and if it happened in any other country, or even in this country, because right-minded people, other nations as well, understand something that we have apparently forgotten, that the head of state is not an influencer. The presidency is not a personal content account. But here in America, we are told to just shrug, to just roll our eyes and move on. And I'm going to tell you what the White House is saying in just a minute, to treat this just like another day in a circus. This is a statement released to the media from the White House press secretary. This is from an internet meme video. That's what she says. Do we have her, Caroline Levitt's quote? This is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as the king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public. Fuck off, Caroline Levitt. And for what it's worth,
Don Lemon had an obligation to directly respond to the president's press secretary, Caroline Levitt. Don Lemon, this is his very first video post on February 6, 2026. He got up, put Vaseline on his lips, combed his hair, washed his face, brushed his teeth, whatever he did. And this is his very first video post because he's burying the lead, as my title of this live stream suggests. The lead is 2020 election fraud, election machine irregularities, especially during the time when Trump was winning Georgia, one of the swing states, and then voting machine receipts show that the counting of the vote between then President Biden and President Trump, or candidate Biden and President Trump, the machine stopped counting. And then when they started counting again, Biden was in the lead. So this is the lead story of how the voting machines, Dominion, I did a video on this about 3 weeks ago. The voting machines, Dominion, or derivatives of the Venezuelan voting machine Smartmatic, who were known for at least a decade to sway elections in both Venezuela and the United States of America. This is the real story, subscribers. This is the real story, people who stumbled across my video by scrolling.
there are no gorillas in The Lion King. That's what she said. And look, White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt's statement on President Donald Trump posting a video depicting Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as monkeys. This is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as the king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public.
That's right.
These people, we have not heard from the Obamas yet. But I want to bring in some people who are very important to me and very important to this story. I'm going to bring in Derek Johnson, who is the president of the NAACP, president and CEO of the NAACP.
I want to get to what he has to say because I want to slam this motherfucker head on.
Charles Blow is here as a Harvard fellow, political commentator, and the author of Blow the Stack, Substack. You got to check that out. Monique Presley is a legal analyst, political commentator, trial attorney, and a friend of the Don Lemon Show. I think Monique is here. And then later on, we're going to be joined by Bakari Sellers, D.L. Hughley, and Representative Jasmine Crockett. So let's play this video, and I want to hear from the guests. Here's the video.
We also have Tim Wise here.
Oh, Tim Wise is here as well. Tim Wise, hello, Tim. Good to see you.
He forgot the white man. He forgot the white man. How racist is that? You had him as an afterthought. Somebody on your panel had to remind you that you had another prestigious fellow on your panel, but I guess because he wasn't black, you didn't care.
an anti-racist professor and racist and expert on racism in America, and outspoken and also a best-selling author. Here's the video. And so it is the song from The Lion King, but we can't play the song because of the music rights. We will get demonetized and they'll pull this down, and this is important. We don't want to pull down, but there you see the governor of Illinois depicted as an elephant, and there's Hakeem Jeffries, and there is Trump. I want to start with the president and CEO of the NAACP as we watch this.
Let's get it.
What do you say, Mr. Johnson? Good morning.
Let's get it.
Good morning. Not surprised. It is Friday. Every Thursday and Friday, they do something outlandish to distract or distort the message. We realize that he's unpopular. He's running out of white people, so he's put into the lowest common denominator. The depictions of individuals of being criminal or subhuman is an old tactic. Frederick Douglass responded during his time because the majority of Americans during his time was illiterate, white Americans, and so they would communicate through cartoon characters. So Frederick Douglass decided that he would be depicted as a dignified, strong African-American male. And what we're witnessing today is the former president, not in the Epstein file, who served with dignity, continue to uphold the presidency in the way in which we would think it should be upheld as a former president. And the current president is completely envious because he is in the Epstein files, molesting 13-year-old girls. And so we are now in this moment of an appeal to the lowest common denominators, to white racists.
Charles.
All right, so I want to get in on that. There was a lot said by the NAACP president who backed Abigail Spanberger in Virginia over Winsome Earl Sears, who's a Black Marine Corps veteran woman that migrated over here with her parents from Jamaica years ago. I think it was in the 70s. She's probably in her lower 60s, a little bit, 11 years older than I am. But, hey, I'm a former Marine myself. And for the NAACP president to get up here in his hypocrisy when his own, I'm not saying his chapter, but I mean, he's associated with the acronym NAACP. The chapter in Virginia chose a Jewish / Caucasian / non-Black gubernatorial candidate for Virginia over a Jamaican whose ancestry could be traced back to Africa or somewhere within globally associated with highly pigmented people, aka Black people. NAACP backed the Jewish / white woman over Abigail Spanberger, a Black woman, in my opinion, as gubernatorial candidates. So the NAACP doesn't have a leg to stand on when it comes to credibility. Now, I forgot this dude's name, and I'll probably provide it in a subsequent video that I made. But this dude said that President Trump, there's evidence that President Trump was molesting and doing inappropriate things to 13-year-olds. There's no evidence that took place. And I gotta tell you, Don Lemon, he is exposing himself to even more legal trouble by allowing this NAACP president to say this false accusation. George Stephanopoulos from ABC, CBS, whatever, it's a propaganda arm of the Democratic Party, pick one, said the same thing, and his station, his news station, got sued $15 million. And guess who won? President Trump won because that language that George Stephanopoulos said about the president, things he didn't do when it came to Epstein, or things he didn't do when it came to E. Jean Carroll or whatever, similar statement. George Stephanopoulos lost. President Trump won. Don Lemon stands to be exposed to more legal peril because he let this young man talk shit and lie about the president when it comes to the Epstein files. He should have stopped him. He should have corrected him and went on to other parts of the president of the NAACP's theory. So I'm going to stop it right there. Here's the real story right here. Here's the real report right here. Let's get it up. All right, I'm going to disappear myself right here, and we're going to get this done.
Initiated by a court order, the Michigan investigation team obtained forensic access to a DS-200 tabulator, the machine that counts the votes. A Telit 4G wireless chip manufactured in Taiwan was discovered embedded into the motherboard. The voting machine tapes clearly indicate modem engagement and transmission of election data. Some of the anomalies that we noticed in the 2020 general elections, that 5 key states all stopped counting at a certain time in these key battleground states. These were all where the software, Dominion machines, ES&S machines were used, the Smartmatic, the GEMS software. So when the vote stopped counting, and this has been noted in other countries as well, President Trump was significantly ahead. When reporting and counting resumed, there was a massive spike occurred that favored Joe Biden.
Okay, so that's the real story about these voting machines. There was something that went on, an investigation that went on in Michigan, to where you had a forensic expert examine the receipts of these voting machines. It could have been Smartmatic, it could have been Dominion, 1 and 2 in the same. But will you hear Don Lemon talk about this? No, you will not. Here's one thing about the Democratic Party that I know for certain. They have zero morals. They can barely read and write. And the reason why I think that they can barely read and write is because if you read and you've written opinion pieces, or you explored thought patterns that were beyond your think tank, you begin to develop brain lengths, brain waves, and independent thought on your own. You don't need nobody standing over your shoulder telling you what to do. And so people who read and write on a regular basis or create content on a regular basis and are sane and common sense, you get a person like me that has been independent-minded since I can remember as a kid. I used to think in my own theories. I would sometimes ignore my mother and my father or any other authority from my older brothers and sisters and depend on myself to get the answer. And so, you have to be like that from day one. And if you're not, and if you're taught to think a certain way, then you end up victim on the Democratic Party, which brings me to this. And I'm not going to play the song because I don't want to get copyrighted or whatever the case is. And we'll in this video, but you see Hakeem Jeffries, you see Kamala Harris, you see Joe Biden, you see Hakeem Jeffries. They are all you see President Trump, the depicted as a lion. So, I don't know who this is, but I think that looks like Jayapal, Congresswoman Jayapal, right? The real story, folks, is the stolen election in key battleground states in 2020. Smartmatic machines, Dominion machines showed irregularities across the United States at a certain point during the night during the 2020 presidential election where the machine stopped counting. And then when they started counting again, according to the video, the results were in Biden's favor miraculously. And so I don't understand what the uproar is. I mean, I think this is funny. That doesn't mean I'm a racist, but I think this is funny. I think this is funny. All right, I'm gonna X out of that. And so here's the thing. The White House did not create that video. It was an X account at Xerius space X. The spelling is at the at sign XERIAS space X. That X account created the video. The White House did not create the video. And so, did President Trump knowingly or someone on his staff knowingly post a 2-second clip of that video created by another X user at the tail end of a 2020 voting machine irregularity video? I don't know that for sure. I don't know that. What was it meant to create hysteria? First of all, I can't answer the first question, and then the second question, I can't answer either. So no one knows unless, President Trump or people who are handling his Truth Social posts come out with a statement explaining exactly what happened and clarifying any other questions. Well, from Don Lemon and his D.L. Hughley, man, I'll tell you what, there was a time when D.L. Hughley, I thought D.L. Hughley was funny. Maybe that was due to my immaturity because I stopped thinking that D.L. Hughley was funny ever since I laughed at his ass when he had a segment on CNN back in the early 2000s, like 2001, 2002, 2003. Man, CNN, they ran his black ass off the network. He wasn't producing any new viewers. He was just antagonizing the moderate viewers CNN already had. He was already antagonizing the amount of viewers CNN already had. So I just hope that we got to the bottom of what's going on here. The basis of President Trump's Truth Social post was focused on the 2020 presidential election machine irregularities that stopped counting votes as soon as the results started to show that President Trump, despite the summer of love in 2020, despite the riots, billions of dollars in damage to businesses and privately owned vehicles and police stations and street signs, despite the George Floyd outrage, despite everything, despite COVID-19 and how they tried to bury Trump and make Trump responsible about the China virus. President Trump was leading candidate Biden in battleground states. And so the fact that we have machines that are spitting receipts that shows irregularities across the country when it came to counting, and then how the results reversed after the counting commenced, of course Democrats want to bury the story. They want to focus on they want to focus on the Obamas depicted as monkeys or gorillas in a short 2-second clip after the real leaf story broke. And then when you look at the entire video, you see a whole cast of Democrats, politicians, as elephants, as other monkeys, as turtles and tortoises, and jackasses and jackals. I mean, come on, man. When are we going to stop letting the Democratic Party use us as race bait? They're using the civil rights emotional attachment that we have to it. They want to insert race into everything because that is incendiary rhetoric, and that is incendiary language that gets us fired up all the damn time. But there's no substance behind it. And so the Democratic Party, all they want to do is replace you. Number one, that's the reason why they let 20 plus million illegal aliens into this country, so they can replace your vote, because they knew, the Democratic Party knew that some way, somehow, that black people were going to wake up to the demons of the Democratic Party, the demons of persuasion, the demons of channeling you and demonizing you when you decide to think and vote for yourself. They call you a coon. They call you a bootlicker when a black person is a Republican, but they don't say the same thing about themselves when they vote for a mayor candidate, Mamdani, who can't get snow off the streets in a timely manner and can't get the trash off the streets in a timely manner. The basic things of being a mayor, Mamdani can't do. Why? Because he had no intention of doing it. And so if I wanted to call anybody a bootlicker, I would call supporters of the Democratic Party bootlickers. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.